Mr. Curmudgeon in the pan. Mr. Curmudgeon was the sort of person who would grunt every time he woke up. Gah! He would grunt. And what was even worse, Mr. Curmudgeon, it was a Sunday Monday. Mr. Curmudgeon hated Sunday Mondays. For example, when he met Mr. Surprise, he would grunt, Gah! I hate people who constantly surprise other people. Poor Mr. Surprise. Then he met Mr. Friendly. Would you like to come round to my house for tea? Mr. Friendly asked Mr. Curmudgeon. Gah! I hate friendly people, grunted Mr. Curmudgeon. I wish this everyone was as grumpy as I am. Oh. Then he met Mr. Chocolate. Hi! cried Mr. Chocolate. Gah! I hate talking chocolates. I wish that they could be eaten forever and ever and ever. Mr. Chocolate was too flabbergasted to hear the rest. Everyone was getting a bit fed up of Mr. Curmudgeon's grunting and growling and grumbling and groaning and moaning and snorting, so they decided to hold a meeting. Mr. Naughty was the manager. We must think of a really naughty idea to stop Mr. Curmudgeon from grunting and growling and grumbling and groaning and moaning and snorting, he said. Then Mr. Sloppy had an unthinkable idea. He decided to play some sloppy jokes on Mr. Curmudgeon, so whenever he said something mean, he would get something sloppy happening to him. Ha 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 ha. Doesn't that sound like a good idea? Mr. Curmudgeon was walking around when he saw Mr. Rainbow and Mr. Star. Gah! I hate rainbows and stars. I wish that they would be gone forever and never come back to Earth again, he yelled. But as soon as all of his words had been said, can you guess what happened? He got some green goo all over his face. Ugh. Disgusting. Gross. Then Mr. Curmudgeon went even further and he saw Mr. Awkward. Ah, grunted Mr. Curmudgeon. You must get punched because your shape is very extremely extraordinarily awkward. Oh. Then Mr. Curmudgeon got some green goo on his arms and legs. Get this grease off me, he shouted. I hate the world! Then Mr. Curmudgeon got green goo all over the rest of his body. He felt very sticky. Ouch! After Mr. Curmudgeon managed to wipe the green goo off his face, he found out that happened to him because he was so grumpy. He decided he would be happy from now on. I will only be happy from now on. That very same day, Mr. Vexatious was out for a walk when he met Mr. Surprise. Boo! Screeched Mr. Surprise. Gah! Grunted Mr. Vexatious. I hate people who constantly surprise other people! Oh dear. Mr. Rainbow has a holiday. Today, Mr. Rainbow is going on holiday with Mr. Unique, Mr. One-of-a-Kind and Mr. Calm. I just can't wait, said Mr. Rainbow. Neither can I, said Mr. Calm, feeling a little bit tired. You're not the only ones who can't wait. Neither can we. We think it'll be great, squeaked Mr. Unique and Mr. One-of-a-Kind. They were going to Premier Inn. Would you have liked to come with them? Unfortunately, Mr. Naughty had heard about it. Everything. This is awful, he exclaimed. I need to do something. What could I do? Mr. Naughty had invented a machine. It was called a spin-o-matic. All you do is put a banana at the end, and all of a sudden, the room you want to spin would spin. Mr. Rainbow, Mr. Calm, Mr. Unique and Mr. One-of-a-Kind checked into their rooms and unpacked their bags. Mr. Rainbow had just put his rainbow swimming trunks on the bed When the room spun and spun, his rainbow trunks flew out of the window! What on earth? Mr. Calm was just about to lie down for a rest on the bed when the room spun and spun, and he ended up in the bath! Oh, I don't feel so good! Ooh. Mr. Unique and Mr. One-of-a-Kind were just about to have a little snack when the room spun and spun, and Mr. Unique ended up with a mustard sandwich, and Mr. One-of-a-Kind ended up with an ambrosia custard tart. How awful! This holiday is off to a very bad start. This is definitely not my custard tart. What on earth? You can't be serious. Custard tart? You must be delirious. Bum, 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 bum. The 4 holiday friends met up and told each other what had happened. They were all flabbergasted. They didn't know Premier Inn had hotels that spun round. They wouldn't have come here if they had known. They went down to complain to Mr. Friendly, who was in charge of the hotel. Oh my! Cried Mr. Friendly. I've never had that happen before in all of my known days. It's not our policy to have spinning rooms. Someone naughty must be playing a trick on you all. What on earth? How awkward. They all said at once, now we know who it can be. We think that it's Mr. Naughty. And they all hurried off to find Mr. Naughty. Mr. Naughty was still using the spin-o-matic when all of a sudden the 4 holiday friends, not the hungry 5, ran into his living room, which is where the spin-o-matic was kept. Ah! Then they all gave Mr. Naughty one big electronic zap. Bzzz. Ah! Screamed Mr. Naughty. The 4 holiday friends burst out laughing. The 4 holiday friends returned to their rooms at the Premier Inn. That should have taught Mr. Naughty a lesson, said Mr. Rainbow. Yes, laughed Mr. Calm. I don't think he'll ever use that machine again. That'll teach him for mixing our snack. That definitely means we got our own back, laughed Mr. One-of-a-Kind and Mr. Unique in unison. As the 4 friends were deciding what to do next, there was a quiet knock at the door of Mr. Rainbow's room. Mr. Rainbow opened the door and was very surprised to see Mr. Naughty standing there, looking very apologetic. I'm so sorry for what I did to you and your friends, Mr. Rainbow, said Mr. Naughty. I was feeling very cross because you went on holiday and I didn't see you and ask if I would like to come with you. Of course you can, said Mr. Rainbow. Great, said Mr. Naughty. Mr. Naughty instantly ran to the swimming pool to get Mr. Rainbow's swimming trunks that flew out of the window. Mr. Naughty went into Mr. Rainbow's room, carrying his rainbow-coloured swimming trunks. Here are your swimming trunks, said Mr. Naughty. Thank you, said Mr. Rainbow. You're welcome, said Mr. Naughty, and instantly started bouncing on Mr. Rainbow's bed. This is part 1 of the gift book. The next video I will upload will be part 2.